Hello, good morning students. Today we are going to study about the sexual mode of reproduction in flowering plants. In our previous video we learned about the asexual mode of reproduction. Now we are going to discuss about the sexual mode of reproduction in the flowering plants. First, we all know in sexual mode of reproduction there are involvement of two gametes, male and female. In flowering plants, the angiospermic plants have reproductive organs, carpel and pistil are the female gametes and stamen are the male gamete. This is stigma. And the elongated portion is known as style, and the swollen bottom part is known as ovary. Stigma, style, ovary are known as pistil or carpel. These are the female gametes and this is anther and this is filament, anther and the filament together are known as stamen. The colored part of the flower are known as petal and the green part below the flower are known as sepals. There are mainly four main parts of the flower. First is pistil, second is the stamen, third is petal and fourth is sepals. Sepals are the green part of the flower and petals are the colored part of the flower. Let us see very clearly from a hibiscus flower all the parts of the flower. Let us see all the parts of the flower in hibiscus. These are the green part of the flower which are known as sepals. These are the sepals and the group of sepals are known as calyx, and this colored part of the hibiscus are petals. These are the petals. The colored part of the flower are petals. When the petals are united together, when the group of petals are combined, they form the corolla. And this is the stigma. The red portion in the center of the flower are known as stigma and this yellow part is known as anther. This is anther. This yellow part is known as anther and anther joined with a structure. This is known as filament and anther are inside the anther are bilobed structure and inside the anther pollens are produced. Pollen are the male part of the flower and this is the stigma and this is style and the swollen part of the pistil are known as ovary. This is ovary, this is style and this is stigma. We see clearly all the parts of the flower. These are the main four parts of the flower. First is sepals, second is petals, third is stigma and fourth is stamen. Stamen are the male part and pistil are the female part of the flower. In the hibiscus flower, we see clearly the male and the female part both are present in the same flower, and that flowers are known as unisexual flower. Unisexual flower, and second is bisexual flower. Unisexual flowers are those flowers in which male as well as female gametes are present in the same flower, whereas in bisexual flowers male and female gametes are present on the different flowers. The example of the unisexual flower are papaya, watermelon, and date palm are the example of the unisexual flower, and bisexual flower are hibiscus, mustard, etc. These are the bisexual flower. We see in hibiscus, this is a flower of hibiscus, both male gamete is a stamen and female gamete is pistil or the carpel. Both are present in the same flower, so it is unisexual, so it is bisexual flower, and where the only male reproductive part is present in a plant and other reproductive part is present in different flower, that type of the flower are known as unisexual flower. Now, if the first we know what is pollination. Pollination is a process in which the transfer of the pollen from transfer of the pollen to a stigma, from the male part to stigma, are known as pollination. It means the transfer of pollen to stigma are known as pollination. The transfer of pollen to stigma. When the male gamete, it means the pollen comes and transferred to stigma, they form the pollen tube. Inside the pollen tube, the male germ cell is present, and this male germ cell reach the female germ cell or the egg cell and form the zygote. A zygote becomes a new plant. Zygote have the ability to become a new plant, and the zygote further develops into the new plant, and zygote gives a new plant. This is the egg cell or the germ cell, and pollen grains or the pollen germ cells comes through the pollen tube and reaches the female gamete egg cell and form the zygote. Zygote develops into zygote have ability to develop into a new plant. Now we know about the cross and self-pollination. Self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination. First we discuss self-pollination. Self-pollination are the process in which the male, we take an example of the hibiscus flower. The male part, anther, this anther, and inside anther pollen are produced. When the pollens are transferred to stigma in the same flower, when the male gamete pollen transfer from anther to a stigma of a same flower, then that pollination is known as self-pollination. And when the pollens transferred from one flower to another flower, then that pollination is known as cross-pollination. Self and cross-pollination, there are two types of the pollination. When the pollination occur in the same flower, then that pollination is known as self-pollination. And when the pollination are done by the pollinating agents like wind, air, water, these insects, these are the pollinating agent. By these pollinating agent, pollen grains are transferred from one part of the flower to other flower. Pollens are transferred by the wind to other flower, and by water, in some species by water, whereas in some flower by the insects. These color part attract the insects, and pollens are transferred by the insect's wings to a stigma of the same flower or the other flower. If the pollens are transferred from to another flower, then that pollination is cross. And if the pollens are transferred to the same flower like in hibiscus, then that pollination is self-pollination. Now we are the zygote. After formation the zygote, ovules, these ovules become the future seed, and ovary develops into the fruit. Ovary develop into the fruit and ovules develop into the seed. In some plants, there are two types of seed form. First is monocot and second is dicot. This is cotyledon. The function of cotyledon is storage of food. This is embryonal axis, and the upper part of the embryonal axis is known as plumule, and the below part of the embryonal axis or the bottom part of the embryonal axis are known as radicle. Radicle becomes the future root and plumule become the future shoot. When a seed germinates, the plumule develops into the shoot and radicle develops into the root. If you are confused, then we use this trick: R for radicle and R for root. Radicles develops from the root and plumule develops from the shoot. In some there are two types of the cotyledon. One is there are two types of the seed. One is monocot and second is dicot. Where in some plants there are only one cotyledon present, and that type of the seeds are known as monocot. Where if the two cotyledon is present, then that type of the seed are known as dicot. As you see in pea, there are the two cotyledons, and in wheat, rice, only one cotyledon is present. So we can say they are monocots, and pea, mostly all the cereals are dicot. I hope all the things are clear to you. Thank you.